In a previous video that I made, I talked about the acquittal of the former editor-in-chief of Tehelka magazine, and based upon other news reports, I had said that there was the usual reasoning of the trial court in acquitting an accused person in a criminal case, which is inconsistencies, improvements, omissions, and contradictions in various statements. However, one thing which I feel that weighed very, very strongly with the trial court, which no news channel till now has talked about, according to me, from whatever I have seen, and that's why I wanted to make a very, very short video and talk about it, is the fact that the lady did not tell the court or the police initially about the fact that just after she left the lift after the alleged incident, on the day of the alleged incident, she had bumped into an old, very, very good friend of hers. She hid that fact, and in her statement to the police and to the court earlier, she merely states that this thing happened to me and I rushed to the hotel where I was staying. Versus in the cross-examination, as noted by the trial court, the lady admits to the fact that just after she comes outside the lift, after a minute or two, she bumps into an old friend of hers. In the cross-examination itself, the lady says that yes, I did meet this man. I did tell him that I was just sexually assaulted and I'm really, really scared. Compare that with the testimony of the friend to whom she had said this, the very friend who she bumped into 2 minutes after coming out of the elevator. The friend comes to court and testifies that this lady, when she comes to him at that day, tells him, "Guess who I have been flirting with?" To which the friend asks, "Is it Robert De Niro?" And she says, "No, it's TT," the reference being to Tarun Tejpal, the accused person. And then at a later stage, she also tells him, "Please do not tell anyone about what conversation we had on that particular night." The friend deposes to all of this and then says that he had to come clean, and that is why he came to court and he gave this version. And even around the time of the investigation going on, it's not that he came after several years and gave his deposition. He wrote letters to the police. He tried to get on record his statement saying that this is what the lady had told him. The court took note of his submission. The court took note of the version of the defense, which was put to the lady as well during her cross-examination, that this was not an assault but a consensual encounter, and all of the material used by the media to castigate the accused person. I am not his lawyer, but to a great extent, whatever is being used in terms of incriminating evidence against the accused person, which I also talked about in the last video, to a great extent, the trial court has dealt with that as well. And the trial court has observed that the lady, when she wrote to the Internal Complaints Committee and when she spoke with the head of the Internal Complaints Committee, she demanded that an apology letter be issued by the accused person to this lady. And she also assured the head of the Internal Complaints Committee that the moment she receives an apology letter from the accused person, that will be an end to the matter. Therefore, the accused person, as noted by the trial court, was coerced into writing an apology letter. The trial court also observes that from all the evidence that is there in the form of emails, text messages, and WhatsApp messages, it transpires that the lady already had a large team of lawyers and journalists waiting on standby, waiting only for the apology letter to be given by the accused person. And the moment that apology letter was given, it was supposed to be, along with her complaint and everything else, it was supposed to be circulated in the media. The trial court makes a note of this, and of course the trial court goes into many, it's not just these two aspects, the trial court goes into dozens and dozens and dozens of other aspects, all material which shows to a great extent, if not the absolute innocence of the accused person, the inconsistency, the falsity of the claims made by the complainant lady. I do not represent either of them. I am not privy personally to any of these facts, yet I come with my understanding of the law and my understanding of how facts in criminal trials such as this one play out. This, I believe, even if not mentioned as the core reason for the acquittal, I believe that this was one of the biggest reasons, one of the major reasons why the trial court said, I cannot believe the version of this lady who, before she files her complaint before the police or the internal complaints committee, she is preparing drafts upon drafts. She is sharing those with her lawyer friends and with journalists, trying to assure herself that there will definitely be a conviction. And in these drafts, she first mentions the name of the friend who she met outside the elevator. And in subsequent drafts, she removes the name of this friend who she met at the elevator. And when cross-examined about this, she has no satisfactory answer. I believe that is one of the major reasons why an acquittal was granted. And if I may dare say so, to a great extent, the reasoning of the trial court judge seems to be a very, very sound one, a very, very logical one. Something that, in all probability, the honorable judges of the Bombay High Court as well as the Honorable Supreme Court will agree with, in all probability.